This is the Thrifty Pilot Podcast, where we discuss everything aviation, tips, tricks, and safety without breaking the bank.
Hey everybody, this is the Thrifty Pilot, James, coming at you, and I have got a special one for you. I am sitting in the room with a CFII, Todd Kallenbach. Welcome, Todd. How are you?
James, great to be here, brother. Nice to see you again. It's been a while.
I know. Todd actually finished out my flight training. It was pretty amazing. I think we did it somewhere in around maybe like 2 weeks, something to that effect.
Days.
Yeah, it was
exactly.
It was a high intensity training with the private pilot. So, yeah, what I remember happening is, I had multiple flight instructors before, and Todd and I just kind of headed off, and I said, let's do this. So Todd was up for it, I was up for it, and we did it. So, yeah, I appreciate it. Like I said again, thank you.
If you can take the punishment,
Yeah.
You did, you survived, you got it done. It's a good way to do the training.
That's the thing. So, I know you from the flight training, but tell me a little bit about yourself, Todd, and where are you coming from, and what's your background in flying?
Well, it all started, unfortunately, in Elizabeth City, as you all know, right? North Carolina at the Coast Guard base. My dad flew the C-130s down there, and good or bad or indifferent, he put me in the cockpit of the C-130. That was it.
That's all it took, huh?
Yeah, I've been flying since I was 14. Here we are. I'm so old now, I don't remember how old I even am. I guess I've been flying about 50 years now.
Yeah. So when did you start training other people in this world of aviation here?
Well, I took the typical civilian route. I tried 2 times to get into the Air Force. I don't think you were here, but they had the Air National Guard here, and they had the 8-7 program. They take 2 civilians a year.
Oh my!
Yeah, and I tried twice, but of course it was 2,000 people trying to get those slots. So
yeah. But
I told myself that's my only shot at the military. So it didn't work out. So I went all civilian. Went to Embry-Riddle, Daytona Beach. Commercial instrument, multi-engine CFI, and of course, if you're going to be doing the civilian route as a pilot, you got to build those hours up. So, was with Hanover several times, but I started at Hanover instructing, and then went out to other various places to build my time, and boom, that was it. Got the magic numbers up to about 1,700 hours, and started getting hired by people.
Wow, That's pretty wild.
So
the airlines, and then.
Yeah, I did the instructing gig, and then I ran ATP at Richmond for a year. Then I went right to Barron's and King Airs and Charter, and then I got a Learjet gig from that, and then from there I went to the airlines for 7.5 years. Grounded out.
Gotcha.
And unfortunately, working on 9/11 as an airline pilot, that changed my whole career path, and here we are.
Yep. So you're instructing now, and
just doing some instructing around the local area, and I also do occasional corporate flights in Navajo whenever they pop up. That's pretty infrequent though, but mostly just instructing in the Richmond area, and sometimes down like towards Hampton Roads and Suffolk area.
Gotcha. Yeah, with the Thrifty Pilot, we try to do the whole educational route for people who are trying to come into the world of aviation, what they need to do to kind of get into this world. And then also the thrifty part, of course, is trying to, reduce cost.
Well, unfortunately, I was going to say first get a lot of money. So, but edit that out later. No, seriously, it's not a cheap game anymore. I mean, I started mowing grass and delivering newspapers to help, offset the cost of my instruction, but it's like $47 an hour, So now it's up close to $200 an hour for the planning instructor. Mm-hmm. And I was just talking to a student a couple of days ago. He just sold and quit because I just can't afford it.
Yeah, so, and that's what a lot of people do is they get involved with this, and they see the price tag, and they don't really do the research before. And that's kind of the reason I thought it would be a good idea to talk to you to kind of see what all that's about.
Well, I would as far as I understand, I get the idea of thriftiness. Best thing you can do if you're a young kid and you want to learn about aviation, go find someone with a plane, go out to a local airport, just talk to pilots. And maybe if you know some instructors, or maybe there's some airline pilots in your family or friends, and just talk to them and get an idea, and then try to just start hopping plane rides when you can, and see if it's for you. And then if you're serious about wanting to find out, go take the discovery flight, and then go from there.
So, what is this for the people who may not be familiar? What is the discovery flight entail? What is that
just
about?
like a half hour of talking to the instructor on the ground, half hour in the plane. You actually get to fly the plane.
Okay.
Now, when I did the discovery flights, I let them fly the whole time, take off and land. Of course, I'd land the plane, but I'd let them have the controls. So just let them see, and this is what they want to do. And most people who took the discovery flight wanted to continue.
Yeah.
So.
I know I get asked a lot, and coming to the actual source yourself, Todd, you would know this better than anybody. On average, when you have students come up to you and they say, Todd, how long does it take to get a private pilot's license? What do you usually say to them?
Well, I bring you up as an example all the time. I talk about what you did. So I can do it in 10 days, or I can do it in 3 years. It's up to you.
Yeah.
So if you have the time and resources, the best way to get your pilot's license is do it as fast as you can. If you start flying once a week or twice a month, you're almost wasting your money. You're going to retrograde. You're going to have to go back and relearn what you did, and it can become frustrating. But some people, they'll go all the way through the flight training, all 40 hours, 50 hours, and they will not take the written test and they'll never get the pilot's license. I've had 3 in the last 2 or 3 years do that. Last 5 years, I should say. Yeah. I mean, you're talking, thousands and thousands of dollars, and people get hung up on that written test. So I think you had your test done.
Yeah.
When we started, it was one of the requirements. So get that written test out of the way and just keep plugging at it.
Gotcha. How much does it normally cost? Is there a norm
for a private pilot's license? I tell everyone $10,000, give or take.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what you're looking at roughly.
Yeah.
And it'll be less. It'll be much less if you fly twice a day for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
You're going to save thousands of dollars to get it done because of spreading it out and relearning and redoing.
Yeah, it seems like, if you do it just once a week or once, every few weeks, you're relearning everything. Yeah. It doesn't make sense financially to do.
Yeah, you don't make a lot of progress that way.
Yeah, you pretty much have to be prepared for that hit when you get into it. And,
So, for an example, I have an instrument student. He flies basically once a week. And I try to, 3.5 hours is a long time to spend in a plane. So we usually stop at 3 to 4 hours.
Yeah.
But then he waits a week or 2 weeks. So then I'm redoing the exact same thing I just did the last flight. So.
Gotcha. All right. Fair enough. So, if someone's coming into aviation and is trying to find an instructor like you, Todd, what type of questions should that person ask? It's kind of like an interview.
Well, the main way to do that is don't tell anybody. Go out to your local airport. Don't tell anybody what you want to do. Get a cup of coffee and hang out and just kind of bump into people. Yeah. You know the routine. I'm not even talking about what we had, but over at the other place. And just kind of watch and observe. Watch the planes, and then if you do that for a little while, you're going to start seeing a certain individual or 2 individuals who seem like they are doing a lot of talking to people and they're staying busy. And I want to talk to that instructor. So then go introduce yourself, tell them what you want to do, and then kind of get the feedback. That's kind of the way I recommend it. I mean, otherwise you could just go to the desk, say, "Hey, I'm Joe Blow. I want to be a pilot," and they'll hand you some information. But I think it's better to spend some time getting to know somebody and maybe ask the other pilots who are out there. That's how I get a lot of my flying. I get referred to all the time. So just maybe ask someone, one of the other pilots, say, "Hey, who's the good instructor out here? Who should I fly with?
Yeah.
What do you think?" And then you're going to have 2 types of instructors when you go to the airport. You're going to have the young guys who just got out of flight school who are there to build up the time as fast as they can and leave because the airlines are hiring like crazy. And then you're going to have guys like me who've been there, done that, and have had a whole entire aviation career. I'm not going to leave. I'm going to be in the area. So you need to be careful because you'll get an instructor, you really like him. Next thing you know, you got an airline job. I hear that a lot.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I get asked a lot. How do I find an instructor that won't leave me? Because I've had X number of instructors that have been with me, James, and I was really hitting it off, and then they left. So
it happened to me too. So, but it's just part of the industry.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay.
So if you don't want that to happen to you, make sure you find that the person who is there at the airport who is not looking for an airline job and is just doing it because they love instructing.
So I get a lot of questions too about ground school. A lot of people worry and focus on ground school for some reason. And I know with me, the ground school that we did was kind of incorporated in the flying. It was literally on the ground, learning. It was a before and after type process, it seemed like. So what is your view on ground school?
Well, it's extremely important, and I don't like when students don't do the ground school. It's also good if you're doing the 2-week program or the 3-week program, you're going to have to do the ground school. But I'm going to mention who I like. I'm not making an endorsement because I'm not working for the people, but I like Gleim. Use them for years. So that's what I recommend to everyone. And they have Mr. Gleim, Dr. Gleim he's a professor or whatever he does, teaches accounting, I believe. He does the same thing in accounting for flying. So he knows how to structure the ground schools. And he's got private, instrument, commercial, everything else you need. So just dedicate yourself and take it in modules. Take one bite at a time. You're not trying to eat the whole elephant in one shot.
Yeah.
Chapter, 1 or 2 chapters a day. And they also have the interactive DVDs to go along with that. So focus on the ground to get that written test done. Because the time you're done with your private pilot online ground school training, you should be ready to take your written test. Now, when you finish your Gleim program for your private, don't just go take the test. You get the questions and answers. And he has those also. The actual literal questions on the test. There's like 1,400 questions. But you can go through them very rapidly. So when you go to take your private pilot written test, you'll begin to recognize the questions and know the answers and pass the test. Don't go in there cold to take the written test because you're not going to pass it.
Yeah. That written test, after all the studying I did, was still difficult. Definitely doable.
Oh, it's hard, yeah.
But, they have that for a reason.
Yeah. So, well, the private pilot is the hardest thing you'll ever do in aviation. Just because it's the first thing you've done in aviation. Yeah. So instrument's very hard, but you already have your private pilot's license. So the private is the toughest program there is. Instrument is challenging, but once again, you have to have your private. Now back to the ground school. That's one side of it. Is the Gleim and the study questions and everything else. The other thing is you're going to sit down with the instructor. So I do a lot of one-on-one. Like I have to teach you, cross country, how to plan across country, how to talk to your traffic control, how to get the weather. There's a lot of additional ground school that's outside of the DVDs. So it's very important as well. Plus your own time. Yeah. You can study, just pick a topic, meteorology, and just go through it and, get your books, build your library up. Go to the WINGS program, FAAsafety.gov.
Yeah,
that's huge. As soon as I'm starting to get everybody as an FAA safety rep for this area. I hand out the FAA magazine that comes out. I give out the FAAsafety.gov business card with all the information. And you want to get in the WINGS program as fast as you can because you'll start getting credit for your WINGS. And when you go to FAAsafety.gov, there's also ground school on there, right? You can watch videos for free and what happened in this situation. They have information on weather, landings, density, altitude, all these topics are very important.
Yeah, that's a continuing education program too.
I push out hard, yeah. Even for myself, I do it.
Yeah, it seems like just about every other week or so I'm on there registering for a course or watching a video. It's pretty awesome. So with that, another question that pops up quite frequently is, James, there's so much stuff out there, all the sporties and all of the aircraft spruces and whatnot, and they have packages, and what do I really need to get started in this journey? Do I need all of this, all of this stuff? What do I need?
Well, the first thing you need motivation. You do it.
Yeah.
Nothing else is going to happen. So I don't know if you're single, you're married, you have kids, whatever. You need to make sure that if you're going to go down this expensive path, that you're going to have the time. You're not going to get into conflict at home. This is what I'm going to do. Because that's a big issue for me. I see it all the time. It's currently happening to me right now. I won't discuss it. But once you make that decision, I'm going to go do this, and you go out to the airport, and you start that path, and you get to Discovery flight, and you didn't get sick, you didn't get scared. So yes, I'm going to get my private pilot's license. First thing you want to do is think about getting that DVD ground school. Obviously, you're going to need a logbook. Mm-hmm. And you don't have to go out and buy a headset because the flight school is probably going to have a headset for you to rent. Yeah. They may be a little bit doggy, but they work. And as you get down the line, you can get really good David Clark headsets for $40, $60, $80. And you don't have to have a noise canceling headset. Mm-hmm. I have one now, but I spent the last 49 years of my life without a noise canceling headset. Okay. Yeah. And when I started at Riddle, we did not even have headsets. We had earplugs, literally.
Oh, good grief! Screaming
back and forth to each other and using the hand mic all the way through my instrument rating.
Yeah.
And commercial, and my instrument commercial, CFI, and multi-eye. Literally. Mm-hmm. Didn't even wear a headset. So you don't go crazy. You don't need to go out and buy the $500 Ray-Bans, but you can. You're also going to, let's talk about the medical real fast, okay?
Oh, yeah.
You're going to have to, unless you're going to be a sport pilot, which I don't want to start getting too complicated. If you have a driver's license, you can fly a small plane now. But if you're going to fly a 172 or something bigger, you have to have one medical in your life from the FAA. Mm-hmm. Once you have passed that one medical, third class, and you don't fail, you can then go to your family doctor for the rest of your life and get basic med, which is what I'm on now just because it's convenient.
Yeah. In
the last 4 years. So that one medical is the only real hurdle you're going to have to get through with the FAA. Mm-hmm. If you have just about everyone can fly a plane, okay? But obviously, if you're diabetic or you can't see well, if you're like literally blind, or people fly with no arms and no legs.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to have either or, but like you could be missing an arm, or you could be blind in one eye. So they all make waivers for you. So don't be too freaked out about that. If you can walk and talk, you're probably going to pass the medical, and then you can go into the basic med, which is what I recommend, because everyone's terrified of the FAA.
True.
So, and let's be honest, if you go in and have a medical problem with the FAA, that's it. You're going to have to continue to be with them the whole time. And they'll work with you. Don't be terrified of it. But you need to know that up front. Mm-hmm. So that's like deciding if you want to fly or not.
Yeah. Yeah, that was one of the things that you really, pushed in the beginning, is make sure that you qualify. Yeah. You get that medical out of the way.
Yeah, you don't want to spend money.
Exactly. You don't want to do all of this and get to the point where you're,
Well, since I brought that up, you just brought that point up. Let me just clarify this. If you do go in and fail an FAA medical, you cannot fly light sport, and you cannot do basic med. So if you have an issue that you're worried about, go to your family doctor. Mm-hmm. The FAA doesn't have to know, but sooner or later you're going to have to go to an FAA aeromedical examiner.
Yeah.
And you can talk to them too. Say, hey, this is my situation, and they'll recommend what you need to do.
Gotcha.
There's a bunch of good doctors out there who do these things. They know the deal. Mm-hmm. But I want people to be aware of the circumstances that exist.
I think everybody kind of gets laser focused on what I need and how I can go about doing it. They don't think about that part, which is kind of a big
I'd get that out of the way first.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Right after the discovery flight, if you sit down and say, "Yeah, I want to be a pilot," I tell people right away, go get a medical right now, today, first day.
Yeah.
Go make the appointment.
Over the years, what have you seen change in the way of flight training? I know that there's new standards that have come out. Well, they're not new anymore, but has anything changed that you can kind of recall, or?
Well, the regs are the regs. They're going to be the same pretty much from now on. They obviously will continue to add, like with the drones, they've added whole new chapters to the regs, but we're not talking about drones right now. So not really a whole lot, with the exception of the sport pilot and the basic med. Those are huge. The basic med was huge, gigantic. That means you can, people who were on the border of failing their medical, but they had not failed their medical, were able to go to their family doctor, and it's pretty much the same exact process anyways, but they could work with them, and then if they pass the basic med, they can fly a plane up to 6,000 pounds, carry 8 passengers, fly up 18,000 feet. So it's a pretty powerful.
Yeah.
It's not for hire though. Mm-hmm. Like one of my friends, I won't mention his name. He bought the Pilatus.
Okay.
So that's the category he's in. Okay. So.
Wow.
Or was. I think he now is on third class. But So it's such a huge change. As far as actual, you're still going to have to teach straight and level, climbs, turns, descents, use the right rudder. All these traffic communications, it's all pretty much the same.
Yeah. I know when I talk to a lot of people, you're huge about safety, and throughout our training and just our casual conversations, it just comes up,
Well, I am huge on safety, and it's very aggravating to me as a flight instructor. I do everything I can to. My students may not even realize that when I'm teaching them, that I'm building into them safety, and they may not even know. Like, for an example, I say don't pull the power back until you lower the nose on base. Mm-hmm. They may not even know why I say that. So I'm trying to keep you alive. That's one of the most dangerous places in the traffic pattern is that turn.
Yeah.
So these very, very simple things that you can put in people's minds can keep them alive. And the biggest thing I've been on now is I can guarantee you 100% safety factor in aviation. You want to know how?
Yeah.
Don't fly. Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
Now you're 100% guaranteed not to die in a plane crash.
Mm-hmm.
However, we want to fly.
Yes.
Okay, so then you say, okay, well, do I really have to fly? Should I fly today? No. I've been hammering this with my students. The ridiculousness of accident reports you read, well, what was this person thinking?
Yeah.
The one I harp on the most was, I think, a doctor from South Carolina who was trying to fly to Delaware. I think it was at night, total IMC. Mm-hmm. He flew for 5.5 hours, running out of fuel, and died, crashed. Now, what would you fly a Piper for 5.5 hours? There's no chance. No chance.
No.
Now, how many runways were there between South Carolina and Delaware?
Oh, probably a ton.
Hundreds.
Yeah.
So why? That's just one of those just horrible decision making.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to hammer into my students now. Like I just finished doctor, with the Baron,
Mm-hmm.
and he was rightly concerned about losing an engine. I said, look. If you think that you're getting everything out of control and you can't deal with it, just pull both of them back to idle and land like a glider.
Mm-hmm.
Don't go into VMC. Just eliminate the potential for VMC by pulling both. If you have in a twin engine plane, you lose one engine, you can roll the plane upside down. But if you pull both engines back to idle, that's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So it's much safer to do that than to roll the plane upside down because you're not going to get out of that.
Yeah.
So that's just one area, and I never taught that before. So that's one area of my teaching where I'm trying to emphasize safety, and how can I tell them? Like I tell my instrument students, if you're in the clouds and you're freaking out, just pull the power to idle and glide out of the clouds, wings level. That's all you got to do.
Yeah, I remember one time you said something to the effect that, if you get to the point where you don't think you have anything else to learn about aviation, you need to get out of aviation.
It's time to stop flying.
Yeah, exactly, and I think that's true.
The most terrifying thing in the plane to me is myself, hands down. And the number one reason for that is complacency.
Yeah.
Thinking that, I got this, like the turn from downwind to base or base to final. Mm-hmm. And people just go right into the ground. And you wonder, why? They just got complacent. They've done it 10,000 times. Remember at my safety meeting when I showed the video of the tail dragger taking off and he crashed?
Yeah.
And I was just telling the story to someone, and he had probably done it so many times, and it worked every single time, but this time it didn't work, and he crashed.
Now, with all that being said, that push towards safety and making sure and, doing what's right, how safe is flying? I get asked that all the time.
It's the safest thing there is.
Yeah?
What's the most dangerous part of flying?
I don't know.
Think of something.
Dangerous? I can't think of anything
Down
right
to
off
base, base to final. Those are dangerous areas, right?
They are,
How about mid-air collisions? That's dangerous.
Those are very dangerous.
Density, altitude, wind shear.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
That's not the most dangerous part of flying. I'm going to tell you what the most dangerous part about flying is. This is statistically proven by AOPA, driving to the airport. It's the absolute most dangerous part of flying. It's 1,000 times more dangerous to drive your car from your house to the airport than it is to go flying in a plane. Now, that being said, there's a saying, about the Piper Cub. Have you heard this? It's like the most safest plane ever built.
Uh-huh.
It can just barely kill you. Okay?
Yeah.
But it'll kill you dead.
Yeah.
That's what you have to think about flying. Flying is extremely safe, but it's very unforgiving of carelessness, incapacity, and neglect.
Yeah, true.
You've got the picture of the plane in the tree, right? Mm-hmm. There's nothing around but the tree. You could have landed in a field. So flying is extremely safe, It's just like being on a sailboat.
Mm-hmm.
It's very, very safe, depending. Okay?
Yeah.
But the biggest, let me see, the number one fear to me in my flying is myself. Okay, that's internal with me. Externally, the things that scare me are obviously the weather. And I'm not flying jets anymore with radar and de-icing equipment, so I don't even mess. It's got to be very smooth IFR for me to go into IMC, into the clouds. So I'm a big chicken, I guess. I don't mess with thunderstorms, wind shear, none of it.
Now, with the new technology that's coming out, the touchscreen, the glass panels, I know the glass has been out for a while, but, it's getting better, and the ADS-B, that's a big push, the 2020 deal. What do you see as far as safety when it comes to that? Is safety increasing, or are we getting more compliant with the technology?
Well, that's, that's a two-sided coin, or what you should say, a two-edged sword, I guess. Because technology, unfortunately, as we learned with the 737 MAX, is loaded. Those are brand new planes, so loaded with the best technology in the world, and the plane was doing something the pilots didn't know or understand. That's one of the things about aviation is if you get into a machine and you do not know what it's doing, you should not be in that machine. So spending time on the ground or getting dual flight instruction. I hopped to an Aero a couple of days ago and had a brand new glass panel. It was all Garmin, but I hadn't ever touched it. And I'm sitting looking at it. It took me about 5 or 7 minutes to make. I couldn't find the transponder. Garmin is so integrated everything now that the transponder was in a real small little corner of the screen.
Oh, jeez.
Usually they're down below the number 2 radio.
Yeah.
And I'm looking. I'm like, I'm not going to be able to leave. I can't find a transponder. It was there the whole time. I just didn't see it.
Yeah.
So I touched on the squawk code, and then the screen popped up where I could put in my squawk. But that's just a perfect example. But yeah, of course, I'm all for safety. When the iPads first came out, and my very first student I had with the iPad showed me ForeFlight. I'm like, just turn that stuff off. We're not using that. And then I'm like, wait a minute, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So after about 2 or 3 hours, he was showing me, because I'd never seen it before. This is right when ForeFlight first came out and the iPads, and I'm like, yeah, this is good. This is good for safety and technology. It's got its drawbacks. Remember, my female student got her instrument rating a couple years ago. I think you know who she is. She went out, finished her oral, hopped into a Cirrus, started her check ride, and her iPad quit. It just failed. I don't know if it was a battery issue or what, but she said it was totally useless. So it's a perfect example. Okay. Yeah. It's like your iPhone or whatever device you have. And you've got your backup here. Don't trust just one way of doing things. You always have to be ready to revert back to the paper and the plotter and the checkpoints.
Yeah, that's something that I always try to force myself to go back and practice with, because you never really know.
Yeah. You need to always know where you are in a plane. Yeah. By the way. And then, I love the technology, but be ready for it to quit and have a backup. And if you don't have a backup, then you better have a backup plan. Yeah. Which is always have an airport behind you, always know where you can turn. I mean, I've come close to landing on roads before because I got myself into certain situations I don't even want to talk about. But, you have to be ready to land a plane at all times. So. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things that I kind of notice is since I'm able to see the weather, it's like, well, has my envelope of safety kind of moved around a little bit because I'm able to see the weather at a current state?
What do you mean, see it with your eyes or somewhere else?
No, on the with the ADS-B because it provides weather.
Well, no, that would be like saying, if you had actual radar in the plane and you're flying towards a thunderstorm, that would be like saying don't turn the radar on. No, you want to use it. Of course, you want to call situational awareness, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, you want to use it, but don't. That's also, like I said, all these two-edged swords.
Yeah, you don't.
It's like I hate storm scopes. Okay, they're the most dangerous thing in a plane because all a storm scope does is show you a lightning strike. Yeah. What's around the lightning strike?
All kinds of nonsense, right?
You rip your wings right off.
Yeah.
So two-edged sword. Yes, use it, but don't let it influence your decision to do something stupid because you think. Because radar, you know how radar actually physically works. I'm not being facetious here.
No, go for it. Explain it to us.
It sends out an impulse from an energy source. Yep. And they figured out how to capture that return. So it's sending back a signal saying, oh, there's a return there. So you have a lot of echoes coming back into this radar screen. It's going to paint a thunderstorm or whatever, but it's hitting raindrops. There's clouds that'll kill you that don't paint. So the bad storms will paint on the radar because they're full of moisture, but some of those cells, they're not even ready to paint yet. They haven't formed enough. No, they can mess up your day. So don't get lulled. We had a rule in the airlines, 20 miles from a thunderstorm for that reason. Because you may be painting that cell, but what is around that cell, plus hail. They can throw hail out 20 miles. Thankfully, it never happened to me, but we had a plane get hit with hail in blue air, in blue sky. Yeah, it was bad. It was bad because it damaged a plane. It didn't knock it out of the sky, but it dented it. All the leading edges were dented bad, as you would expect, and I think it shattered the windshield. Yeah, and that was in clear air. So,
well, if you for the new pilots, what little bit of advice would you want to leave with the new pilots? I'm going to ask that for new pilots and old pilots as well. Pilots that have been in the game for a while. So
let's say you haven't soloed yet. Is that good enough for you?
There you go.
That's pretty new. You're going to solo around the 8 to 10 hour mark. I tell this to all my students, but if you came to me and you had 5 hours and said, I want you to fly me, okay, I take you up. Well, I'd probably sit you down in the classroom first, just talk to you for a few minutes, and I'd write on the board. I said, I'm gonna write this on the board, and you're gonna remember this the rest of your life, okay? And I'd write, maintain directional control of the aircraft at all times. I tell it to everybody, just maintain control of the aircraft. If you're getting wrapped up and maybe rattled and almost to the point of panicking, just go wings level, and add 3/4 power and relax. Just take some deep breaths and relax. Don't let yourself, like if you're in the pattern and someone else shows up and then it's starting to pressure you because you're getting nervous and you don't want to be a bad neighbor, and maybe you start turning that downward to base leg a little bit too soon, a little bit too slow because this guy is coming behind you in a Baron or a King Air. Okay, just get out of there. Leave. Don't let yourself get pressured is the main thing. And the main thing to say is to go around if you don't like what you see. Do not ever try to land a plane if you don't feel comfortable and you're not ready to land a plane. Just go around. I was with a doctor in his Baron a couple days ago, and this tail dragger landed at Charlottesville. And I told him, I said, listen, you may want to extend this downwind. He didn't listen to me. Just turn in normally. Well, the tail drag went all the way to the end of 2-1. 2-1. So we were literally 10 feet in the air, and the tower told us to go around. So always be ready for a go around. And if you don't do them, practice them. Pitch up, power up, gear up, flaps up, talk up, and he screwed that all up. I had to get on his case about it. Yeah. So he just wasn't ready. But always be ready for the go around, and always be ready for the engine failure. That's the other thing. And what are the 4 F's, James?
Fly the plane.
Yeah.
Find a field.
There you go.
Fix the issue, and then your frequency.
Very good, man. I must have done something right with you.
Look out!
How long has it been now?
What's that?
5 years?
It's been a while.
5 or 7 years.
But it's good to also hang out with you. That helps.
Well, we did the BFR recently as well. So.
Oh, true. Yeah. Yeah. The BFR, for those who don't know, every 2 years. You need to go up with an instructor, and it's not one of those things, I believe, that it's a pass or fail type thing. Maybe you can explain it better than I can, since you're the CFI here.
BFRs are very important. Biennial. It's not biannual. It's biennial flight review every 2 years. It just helps knock the dust off. It's like letting someone else get a look at your flying. Yeah. And just keep put an eye on you. And I have never not given a BFR to someone that I started with. I can usually tell right away. I think I told one person, because it had been many years, I said, that was good, we're doing one more training flight. That wasn't really like a fail. He just wasn't ready to get back into the flying game. And I'm like, this is half your BFR, I'll do the other half whenever. So, but we did 2 flights, he did fine. And, on the BFRs, I try to maybe throw in one thing that's different that I've never done with someone before. A big one is I can get someone on takeoff with engine failure. That's a good one. Turn back at 500 feet. Yeah. That's complete miscomprehension in aviation. If you make it to the crosswind turn, you can make the runway, depending on the plane you're in. But I would practice that with an instructor.
Yeah.
If you don't feel like you're going to make it go around, if it's a real situation where you have lost the engine and you're aiming back for the runway, usually airports have lots of clear space around them. You land in the grass, land prior, or whatever, but at least try to give it a shot to get back to the airport. Otherwise, you're going to go straight ahead or into an open field.
Yeah. Well, Todd, do you have anything else to tell us? Because I think I've ran out of questions. I'm sure that I'm going to get quite a few additional questions after this podcast is posted. But do you have anything else that you want to tell the listeners here?
Well, your blog or website, Thrifty Pilot.
Mm-hmm.
So we can talk about that. I think we've already covered that a little bit. Aviation's not cheap, so you can ride with friends, right? Mm-hmm. You can split expenses. You can buy your own plane. Now, if you're serious about your flight training and you want to be a professional pilot, you may want to think about buying your own plane. Planes hold their value really well, so you can use it, and then someone else in the same situation you maybe want to buy it for the exact same reason, and you can sell that plane and maybe cover part of your cost for flight training, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of people do that, and you can build time in the same way. I recommend instructing because when you instruct, you become a lot better pilot. So that's part of being thrifty, and there's so many resources like FAAsafety.gov, and there's so many people who are now putting things online for free, like yourself. But you can do a lot of studying and learning on the ground for free, and YouTube videos. I recommend a lot of YouTube videos to learn, not just how to fly, but you can study what happened, what did this person do. Mm-hmm. You can learn a lot from those accidents and incidents. One I want to talk about real fast, and I'll shut up, is in our safety training, we watched a video of I think it was a P210 or Cessna 210. Man was flying with his wife, and a student on the ground just happened to capture the video because he was on the ground taxiing or whatever. This guy's door popped open in flight, and it caused no problem at all, but it terrified his wife, and she started screaming because she thought she was going to die. Well, he just decided, I got to land at the closest airport. So he saw, I can't remember what airport it was, out towards the Lynchburg area, out that way, and dove down to this runway because he's got a screaming wife. The door's open. He wants to get on the ground. Yeah. We came across only over 100, 110 knots. There's no chance he was going to get on the ground normally. Mm-hmm. So he forced it onto the ground and porpoised. It porpoised all the way down the runway, and he crashed at the end of the runway. And I don't think it killed anybody. Now, what should he have done?
He should have just gone around.
What about just fly a normal pattern?
Yeah.
And take a few deep breaths and tell his wife to be quiet and everything's okay. If the door came off and the plane was going to fall apart, they would have been dead already. Mm-hmm. So it didn't, and they were fine. All he had to do was just land the plane. Yeah. But he panicked because he had a panicked passenger. So those kind of things where you need to think, and just calm down and be safe, irregardless of what's going on around you. Mm-hmm. You may have someone over there vomiting and just passing out, but you still have to fly the plane. You have to get it on the ground safely. So distractions, and always keep an eye out for traffic, looking outside, and just use good common sense.
Yeah, that's usually what flying boils down to is good common sense. Figuring out, if you should even fly or not.
Well, that's what I said earlier, right? Don't fly.
Yeah.
100% safety guaranteed then, but we want to fly, so then you have to ask yourself, should I fly?
Yeah.
And, I try to be careful in this area because I don't want to sound like I'm giving bad advice, but I do tell people, I say, listen, if it's a little bit sketchy, you're not sure, just take off and stay in the traffic pattern, Don't take off and go into a cloud. I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
But let's say it's a little, maybe it's 1,200 foot overcast with light rain, completely legal and safe, but you're not sure. So you take off and just stay in the pattern. Always be able to see right where you took off from.
Yeah.
And usually things look a lot better in the air than they do from the ground. So you go, oh, it's beautiful. I can see 20 miles. I can see Lake Anna. Mm-hmm. So then you go on with your flight. But if you can't and it's not smooth and you don't like it, just come back around and land the plane.
Yeah.
Otherwise, don't take off. So that's kind of what I push. With my instrument student, I just told them I told you earlier, if you get when you're in the clouds. We call it IMC. And you start thinking you're about to lose control of the plane, just get out of the clouds. Pull the power back to idle and wings level. That way you're not spinning out of control. So that's what I'm trying to focus on now as far as safety goes.
Yeah, whenever I was flying with you at first, I was, the thoughts of me freaking out. But, with an instructor that's worth his salt, it seems like you're always in control. You're there, you're watching. And you still allow, me sometimes to get to the point where I'm going to maybe make a mistake, but you're right on it. So,
well, one of the main things I've learned as an instructor, I heard this from an examiner, Jerry, he told me years ago, he said, look, don't correct every mistake and let them screw up. Because, we have two sides of instructing, it's behavioral and cognitive learning. And so the cognitive learning is when the student's flying and making those mistakes. And that's how you're learning. So if the instructor is overriding and, just on top of everything too much, you're not going to give the student a chance to screw up. Like when I'm teaching ILSs, I know exactly what's going to happen. They're going to be making S-turns all the way down the localizer. And it drives me up the wall, but I let them do it.
Yeah.
Why? They're seeing that they're screwing up. So they have to see how to do it the right way. Mm-hmm. So they're going to have to do the S-turns because as you know, on the ILS, you get closer and closer to the antennas. It gets more and more sensitive.
Oh, yeah.
It's a lot more difficult than an RNAV approach. So that's how they learn. I tell them, Tom, blue in the face, sit your heading bug on the heading. You want to fly that heading? No, I don't need to listen to my instructor. Okay, make your S-turns.
Yeah.
So then they do that a couple times, and they're like, oh, maybe I should set my heading bug and do what the instructor says. And then they go, oh, this is a lot easier this way. So once they have a solid heading correct for the wind, now it's just a matter of descent rate. So, and it makes it a lot easier, but let the student make the mistakes. Like I don't always correct landings. I let them boing, boing, boing right down their own way. I told you, right?
Well,
but if I grab the controls,
yeah,
and they don't experience that, I've had many students tell me, "You want me to do the takeoff?" I'm like, "You're joking, right?" Because no, my other instructor doesn't let me do the takeoffs or landings. I've had people tell me that.
Really?
Yeah. Wow. Not 1 hour. Did I tell you the story? I had I wish I could remember this. I got the picture in my head. I think it was 20 hours. It was 20 hours straight down the logbook, same airplane, same instructor, 1.5, like every time. It'd say pattern. And I looked at the person, what? This was from like day one.
Yeah.
So what was that instructor doing? You're ripping off the student.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Okay.
Yeah, that's another thing that,
it's unethical.
I think we covered it a little earlier, things to look out for, and that's definitely one. If you've got that repetition and you're not soloing by,
Yeah, well, they didn't have steep turns, slow flight stalls, engine failure, turns around a point.
Yeah,
none of that. I mean, that's criminal.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that I didn't have any way to intervene in that situation, but I would have.
Yeah. Well, Todd, I really appreciate it, man. Thanks for hanging out with me. And
hello, Thrifty Pilot fans.
I think that at least some of this will help some. So, and then others will help others. So thank you so much, Todd. And you're an instructor in the Richmond area. How can people get in touch with you if they're interested in kind of making that next step after hearing this?
Well, I'm on all the social media, but I really don't like communicating with that. But just the best way is just right to my phone. 804-677-6576 is the best way.
All right.
I don't mind giving the phone number out to your people. I cover the Richmond area down to sometimes Hampton Road, Suffolk, Stafford. I was doing Dinwiddie, but not doing that anymore. But I'll talk to anybody in the local area if they're interested.
Cool deal. Well, I definitely give my stamp of approval. Todd has been absolutely amazing with me and quite a few other people that I've known and flown with. So thank you so much, Todd, and until next time. See you guys.
From the Thrifty Pilot, thank you for joining us. Visit thethriftypilot.com for more Thrifty Pilot goodness. Stay safe, stay thrifty, and see you soon. Bye-bye.